Okay, we are going to attempt to do another Q&A video for you here. Lydia's here, so that should make it more exciting. Also, at the end of my Q&A video from last week, I said to be continued because we had recorded the second half of that. And since then, my computer crashed, and so we lost all of that. So, oh well. So if you're new to our channel, I'm Julie. This is Jason. We have 8 kids. Number 9 is coming in May. And we live in a small house, and that is what the first question is about. So just to preface that question, we live in a small house. It's like 575 square feet. He says 574, but I measured 575. And you know, for my mental well-being, I need that extra square foot. So can we just call it 575?
Because she's mental, we'll give her the extra foot.
Okay, you need that. You know how much I can fit in a square foot? It's just good for me. So there's 10 of us living here, and
a full-size poodle.
And a full-size poodle, but he sleeps under the table, so he doesn't take up much space.
Except for when he sneaks on the couch when we're upstairs.
Right, that's true. That's true.
Hey.
So, we had a couple questions about this. Sydney was not the only person who asked this. I had another one too, who was a woman. She asked me over on her Instagram. She had found our channel recently through our tiny house tour video. Mm-hmm. So we have 2 videos that I've done over the past couple of years that take a tour of the house. And so she had found our channel through one of those videos and was asking if anything had changed. Let's see if I have her question here. I would love to hear if life in the little house has been what you expected. I watched an old video from 2017.
What did we expect?
It looked like maybe you weren't quite sure how it was going to work, but I always find God has grace for what He's called us to, even when we can't imagine it ahead of time. Or maybe I misinterpreted the video and you always felt confident. No. And then with that, Sydney Maglowski says, what's the hardest part of tiny house living? And would you recommend tiny living or an average size home for large families? We dream of living in the country, and building a tiny home on a piece of land seems to be the only way, which that was our story.
Yeah.
So I just thought we could, this little Q&A session, that we could just talk a little bit about tiny house living. Honestly, that's how a lot of people have come to our channel. So I think there is a great interest there. If you don't know our story, I'm not really letting you talk, am I?
It's okay.
Sorry.
Once the chocolate chips kick in, you won't be able to shut me out.
He's very caffeine sensitive. Even chocolate chips can get him going. Okay, people are going to be like, chocolate chips? That's not normal.
Yeah, stick around.
So it was not
because
like...
we're really normal, you know.
It's not like it was our life goal when we got married to live in a tiny house with 8 kids. That was not on our radar at all.
We wanted an old farmhouse.
We did.
Old white farmhouse.
Yes.
That I would rehab.
Yeah, and when we first were married, we lived in St. Louis City, and we lived in, what was it? Was it 2,000 square feet?
Counting the basement,
we had a full basement.
It was probably 2,300 square foot.
Yeah, so it was a decent house. That's where we had Isabella, and then we grew all the way up until James. He was our last baby born there. So that's 7. And then, you know, we liked it. We liked our neighbors, but we really wanted, he's always wanted to live more in the country. I did not until I was at home with 6 kids. We just felt like...
Well, there was some stuff going on in the city and stuff. And
we were ready to go. And our kids knew every square inch of our yard, and I just wanted them to be able to have freedom to run and just that we could just be us without feeling like there were neighbors on top of us.
Right.
And so we started looking, and we did. We looked at old farmhouses because we said we don't want to build. It's too expensive and too much work.
Well, we just came out of, we were in the middle, probably, 3/4 way through a major remodel on a really well-built brick home. And honestly, it took it out of me. I didn't necessarily want to get into a new rehab, because every time you touch something and you try to bring it to the new vision of what you want or the new whatever, and then you have different codes that you have to adhere to, and you're piecing things together, when sometimes it's just easier and quicker to start from scratch and build whatever it is that you want to build.
Right, but we also knew that we didn't have a budget to build.
No, well, right.
And
we could, but we choose not to.
Well, at that time, though, we would have had 2 houses.
Well,
so
yeah,
it wouldn't have
right.
been an option. Alone at that time wouldn't have been an option, because we still owned, that first house was in our name that we hadn't sold when we found this place that we're living on. So this is kind of like a jumbled story. I will link the videos where I talk a little bit more about the process of how we got here in the tiny house tours if you're new to our channel.
Right.
But what it came down to is we ended up finding this property and really feeling like this was where God wanted us.
Right.
And so it didn't have a livable house on it. There was a house, but it had been neglected and abandoned several years before. It had mold inside. The roof had
It had been pieced together. It was like a farmhouse, like a one-room farmhouse, or a country home that they had added on this and added on that and added this on. And it wasn't done necessarily in the best way. And the floors, step up, step down, ceiling, big, Again, I had just come through a situation where it was really well made, and that was difficult to deal with. And then coming into one where it wasn't really well made.
Yeah, so even if it hadn't been full of mold, it's not the house that we wanted.
We would have lived in it. We would have lived in it if it was livable.
But it was not what we wanted.
Right, but we might have built new anyway.
Right, but it just wasn't, when we first looked at this place, it was not worth dealing with that. And so we're looking around thinking like, well, if we buy this place, what can we do? And Jason is my visionary man, and there was this old workshop on the property. It was like a concrete floor. It was a really tall, small workshop.
How's it go?
Tall. It was unusually tall, which is what made this house work. And he's like, well, what if we turn this into a tiny house? And I thought, he has lost his mind, because it was disgusting inside.
Well, the plan was that we were going to buy like a Darkshin shed, a pre-made shed. What was it, 14 by 40 or something like that, and turn it into a house that way with lofts on both sides. And
we were talking about all kinds of things.
Right. I mean, I think we were actually leaning pretty heavily to that, because we just wanted to get out of the city house situation, get it sold, and then be able to start the new chapter of our life out here. So.
Yeah. But he said, okay, well, what if we did that? And it took me a few days to kind of adjust to that vision.
It was awesome, I think. It was just like one of those things where I had walked on here, and all of a sudden my eyes were just unveiled, and it was just like, oh, okay, why would we buy something and move it on here temporarily when, ultimately this was here, it was going to work rather well, and it will play into what we feel like God has called us to do on the property in the future.
Yeah.
So.
We should have gone back and watched those videos from 2017, because I remember a video, and I'll see if I can find that and link it too. I remember a video when we committed, okay, this is what we're going to do, and we were sitting on the step of this little workshop with our plans that we had started drawing up, talking to you guys about our ideas, and it would be interesting for us to go back and look at that.
Yeah, because of some recommendations of one of the viewers, we have the layout that we have now.
Right,
because we had the kitchen over here in the corner where the dining room is.
Yeah, and we did make some changes from that initial plan, but once we both got on board, we had an excitement about this.
It was fun.
But of course, to answer that question, I was always kind of thinking of like, well, practically speaking, how is this going to work? Like,
what was the question? What was the difficult thing about it?
One question was about, the hard parts of tiny house living. But the other one was just kind of...
We're still in like the idea
exactly
of moving here. So if I understood the question correctly, it was...
Her first one, let me tell you exactly. Has it been what we expected? Before we moved in to now.
What did we expect?
What did we expect? I don't know.
I don't know, and that's the thing. I think that
we didn't have any expectations.
Right. I mean, we knew that it would allow us to get here, so it met that expectation. We knew that it was going to be challenging having a large family in a small area, and it's been that.
You know what? I expected to have less space than we have. Like
usable
less
space
for our stuff.
Yeah.
I remember sitting down and trying to make plans because I was thinking of what to get rid of in our house because we had a lot of stuff and what to keep, and trying to imagine. I had like drawn a little drawing of the space that I thought we would have here.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking like, well, where are we going to put things like envelopes and postage stamps and, you know, like all of those little things that I thought, where are we going to put all this? Because when you really start adding up the amount of stuff that 9 people have, or 8, I think I was pregnant with maybe James. I can't remember. It was probably 8 at the time. You know, it's a lot, and I expected us to have less space to put the things. We have gotten really creative, and we have way more space than I thought.
I think it's fun, honestly. I obviously don't spend as much time in here and deal with it as much as she does. There's, you know, she comes to me from time to time.
Emergency.
And can I keep going? All right. She comes to me from time to time and just lets me know how much space we have, or how much space we don't have. And so I like it because it's everything you need and nothing more. And as a matter of fact, it's bigger than, you know, bigger than we really need. You know, a lot of things. I mean, we have, you know. We have air conditioners, we have guitars, we have computers, and, you know, and a bunch of other stuff. Lots of books, lots and lots of books. You know, it's from a necessity standpoint, you know, this space is really serviceable. But the challenges are like Christmas, birthdays, when we get more, or anything new.
Well, it has helped me. I don't know what you said while I was in the other room, but it has helped me to be in a mindset of
prioritization.
Yes, that, you know, we both have like a pack rat tendency to us that has had to, you know, adapt to this kind of life. Because we're both like, oh, we could use that for something, and we could,
because we get offered things all of the time.
Oh, yes.
We just got a upright deep freeze I'm staring at.
People see a lot of kids, and they're like, they could use our stuff. And so it has been a blessing, and that's one of the reasons that we've been able to have a large family without it costing us much money, because people have been so generous.
Very generous.
But we've also had to learn how to rein that in and say, okay, what is the priority here? Right. It's been good for me.
Well, what did I just say that I want to do outside? I want to purge the things that we have.
Cleanse the barn.
Right. And I want to go through, and I mean, this is hard because we just got, here's a story of why this is hard. Oh, this is always like another story.
You can't, are you talking about the tractor thing?
No.
No. The freezer?
No. The log splitter.
So
the log splitter come to us, and it basically needed to be change one engine for another. We had the other engine. That was great. Grandpa blessed us. But the shaft that drove the actual pump for the hydraulics for the splitter was a different size, and I was like, oh man. But because I kept this one part, I was able to like be like a machinist and bore it out and slide it on and
really
put a set screw and you know, so it's like things like that. It saved me like $30, $40, $50 or so, and a trip, a 30-minute trip to the store. You know, where I was able to get it up and running, and I enjoy that sort of thing. I like fabricating things, so that it's like an artistic creation type thing for me. You know,
so
like
it's hard.
Yeah, so I'm like a sculptor, mechanical
Thank you
sculptor.
for being part of our therapy session here, so we work this out. But
should we lay down on the couch?
But back to the question, though. So I think that one expectation that I had that I struggle with is I thought we would be out of this house faster than this. And that's something that I'm struggling with. because the way that the things have worked out, we just haven't started our big house yet.
Everything in our life takes longer than we thought.
Yes, it does.
So.
Because we are so visionary that we do have a lot of projects and we start a lot of things, and it's just the way it is. And we know that the Lord's timing is perfect in all this, and that the next step will come at the right time. But I had to have some hard moments of just adjusting my expectations, because I didn't plan to be living in this small house this many years.
No.
Is it 3 years we've been in here? Something like that?
2018.
Yeah, this month.
3 years, end of this year.
I think
end of this month, it'll be 3 years.
Yeah.
Yes. So.
Yeah. So what are some of the good things?
I think one of my favorite things
Yeah.
was the freedom that we had from cleansing our stuff.
Yeah, that is good. And it's continually good, because
Yes.
I have learned to let go of things easily, to be more generous myself.
The junk drawer is full, but other than
Yes, so we do have a junk drawer. Oh, and other questions that I get a lot on the tiny house tour videos. We do have a normal size refrigerator, a normal size dishwasher, a washer and dryer.
we have 3 refrigerators,
Okay.
2 deep freezes.
Right. So we have a barn that we have other things in.
Yeah.
So this is one way that I answer people a lot when they ask me about if I would recommend tiny house living. My question is where? Because if we were living in this size house in the city.
I'm going to stop you though. If God leads them to do it,
well, that's true. That's true.
it doesn't matter. He's going to give them whatever they need, the ability,
they have to
the
simplify
mentality.
a lot more than us.
That's true.
Because we have things in the barn, and we do have a storage shed that we put the clothes that kids.
Oh yeah, we have a
wearing.
box off of a box truck.
Yeah.
It's like 16 feet or something.
So
like that.
if you count it like that, it is more than just what we have here, because we have that storage space.
But it doesn't sound as nice when we say, well, plus. I don't know.
Because we live on almost 16 acres of land here, it doesn't feel like this is all we have. If we lived in a city and we were in an upper floor apartment with this amount of space, that would be a totally different story.
We'd be able to do it.
That
we would just
not be
have
fun.
a different lifestyle.
Yeah,
It'd be totally different.
it would.
We wouldn't be able to let our kids go outside freely.
Right. So that would be my first question to you. If you are a large family considering small living, is, what will be around you? Because your house, your living space doesn't just end in your house. It's what's around you too. If you have places like we do where the kids can go run and play and have a lot of fun in a barn and all these things, then your living space is just expanded by that much.
Tremendously, yes.
So
I would say, like, if you do the tiny living, you want to do that, and you have a small space, like not a large yard or whatever, no yard, just know your plans on what you're going to do to make sure that you're getting outside and getting the stress reliefs that you need as a family or individually.
Yeah. Because I think right now is the hardest time of year for living here for me, because whenever it gets cold and yucky, the kids don't want to go outside as much. And so we do feel more cooped up, and everybody's kind of, like, I get this sound tolerance that I just get filled up. By the end of the day, I'm just like, quiet, please.
She runs around with headphones.
I put on headphones that aren't plugged into anything sometimes, just because
deadening.
it dulls the sound. You gotta do what you gotta do. So that would be an obstacle. Another thing that has proved itself to be very necessary that we didn't realize at first is that our kids have shelves in their bunk beds, so it's like their own custom space that they can design however they like, and they have curtains to shut. Right. So they each have their private little room that's their bunk bed, and that's their stuff. They have a light, they have outlets to plug things in. That's been very necessary.
Agreed.
What are other things negatives or things we think are?
Just if you have the ability to design the space, think flow, think traffic, think about things like opening doors.
Right.
We have a refrigerator and a dishwasher that are right next to the outside door. Not my best design there.
Right. So whenever you want to come in from outside, you got to close the dishwasher if somebody's doing dishes, which happens a lot. That's something.
And it was because I got lazy and didn't want to move it after I realized it might be an issue. But
we may still move it if we're here another year or two. All right, another topic. Other things, I think, we were talking to somebody recently and suggested that they go with as tall of ceilings as possible.
Yes.
Because it does feel a lot bigger in here than it is because our ceilings...
This is 8 foot, which is a standard.
We would even go 9,
I would go 9 foot if we had the choice. If we were building from scratch, I would go 9 foot. Give you more shelf space. You know, you may need a ladder, a stool to get to it, but you'll never regret it.
Yeah.
We have 12-foot ceilings when we take a step over there, which is really nice. I mean, it's a very small space where it's 12 foot, but it just opens it up and just makes it feel much larger.
Right. And we were asked recently another question of why we didn't make a loft tall enough to stand in, which is our bedroom.
Yeah.
And it's because this exterior building was already here. We did not change the footprint or the roof.
Ceiling,
was
right.
already in place.
Roof, right.
We just kind of worked within it to customize it the best we could. Yeah. What's another hard thing? Having one bathroom is challenging. That has taught us all a lot of patience. We've had to learn to be polite when you're waiting. You know, that's something we talk about a lot.
Or deal with people that don't want to be polite while we're waiting.
Yep, that's a tough one. I actually am remembering now, I had another question that kind of ties into this. Somebody did ask about, with one bathroom and 10 people, how we handle showers or baths. That was another question that came up. You know, tying into the challenge of one bathroom with this many people.
Lots of deodorant.
First of all, I don't think it's healthy to shower every day. I just don't think it's good for your skin. So that eliminates that. Our smaller people, you know, they don't, they can go for a couple days without getting cleansed. Unless we have a bedwetter, then that person gets cleansed a lot. You know, it's just different seasons. But once they hit that puberty stage, of course, we're doing the juggling act. Because we all need more showers then, you know. So we have morning and evening. It's not like everybody's taking it at one time.
No, typically two or well, it depends on how fast they get in and out.
Right.
Silas did a 5-minute
We're trying to train them to be a little quicker because then you have more hot water.
That's right.
So some people can do it in the morning and some in the evening, and then they can alternate days. So
little ones
it
can
does
take
work.
baths and
It does work, but it's interesting the things that people have questioned me about that I never would have thought to question. Like I had someone ask me about where we hang all the wet towels from the showers. Like they were so concerned about that. It was like several questions in a row, all relating to that. And I was like, well, we have several hooks on the back of the door. You can throw them over the shower rack till they're dry, or
I actually find that they dry a lot faster when I hang them. So we have a loop. We have a clawfoot bathtub, and it has a loop around the tub itself. But I find that it hangs, or that it dries a lot faster when I hang it over top of there.
Yeah, or sometimes I'll just do extra laundry if there's a lot of people.
Right.
I'll just
Oh yeah,
do a
so
quick load,
if she's doing a load, then I just grab the wet towels rather than have them piled up, because inevitably not everybody remembers to pick up the towel off the floor in the bathroom. So when I do that,
that's not just a tiny house life
excuse you,
issue. That's a we
reality.
have children issue.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, one thing that was tricky was about living here was when Jason, after COVID, when everything kind of shut down for a while, he was trying to work from home here. That was a joke. So then he tried to work from the barn, but then he had roosters crowing.
I'd be on the phone. Yeah, I'd be on the phone with clients. They're like, "Is that real?" And I'm like, "More than you know," because they'd be like 5 feet from me or whatever.
Right, and sometimes the one rooster would just get going and go.
Yeah.
So we have remedied that by building a little cabin in the woods. So now he has a place. You know, again, our world just keeps getting bigger the longer we're here, which is our goal for being here.
Right.
You know, this tiny house was just a stepping stone to get here. And then we are wanting to keep expanding with more buildings and a larger house so that it becomes a place. Oh, thank you. So that it becomes a place where it's not just for us, but it's a place that we can have many people come and be entertained.
Yeah, we have some friends that may come through here on a...
Yeah.
Was going to come through here in April or May or whatever, and you know, it'd be nice when we have the big house that they could just have this place, and it's not a stress. It's not a big deal or whatever.
It is so wonderful, especially now that we've made it so known to people that we do want to welcome people here. We even had a family, the Schreibers, who were subscribers to this YouTube channel that we ended up getting in touch with, and they came through with their RV and stayed with us. And so we got to meet this family that just because of YouTube that we never would have met before.
Yeah, large family.
And just enjoyed that so much. So it's been a big blessing. So I guess back to your question, we kind of got off on
25 minutes later.
Right. But if God is calling you to property or to a place where this is your option of living in a small space or whatever it may be, just take the leap, I would say.
Sure.
I do not regret taking the leap to be here at all.
Not at all.
And I would never want to go back to what we had before because this is where God wants us to be. So, whether it's hard or easy or whatever it may be, this is where we're supposed to be, and you have that assurance. And so you're able to just handle whatever else comes your way. Another one is, sorry, I keep thinking of questions. I don't even have my phone out, but I just thought of another one. We were asked about how the kids can concentrate for schoolwork, being in a small space. These all relate to a tiny house space. We do have kid headphones, which I can link because we've been really pleased with them and they're cheap on Amazon. So we use those a lot for kids to help them focus. But I tell my kids, because toddlers are loud, and I tell them that this is training you to be able to concentrate in whatever situation you are put in the real world, because it's not realistic to think that you're always going to have a super quiet, focused spot to do whatever you need to do. I mean, the world just isn't like that.
I think it's fun. Sometimes I'll go to client houses or whatever, and I like to go there for their comfort, and when we sit down and we start going through some information, the kids or a couple kids will be getting loud or whatever, and they're like, "Oh, I'm so sorry," and I was like, "Are you kidding me?" I'm like, they are not going to bother me in the least. Like, I mean, like, what I'm dealing with on an everyday basis, this is just fine, and it does make it a little easier to focus when there is some distraction.
Because you have been trained in that way. But we do, if there's those people that need quiet, if there is that moment, we make it a priority. So maybe they'll go down to the cabin with Jason, or maybe they go into the kids' bedroom and shut the door and work in there. So, it's accommodating everybody in the best way that we can. I mean, we don't want living in this small space to be a bad memory for our kids. We want it to be a cherished, good memory. And so we're doing the best that we can to make this a situation that everybody's enjoying. And I think our kids like it here. I think they like the togetherness. I'm imagining that one day, when we do have the big house, that we'll all kind of cram on the same couch. Because we'll be so used to it.
I was thinking that we'd have, tiny house day again.
Yeah, we'll just come back in. Yeah. Be like, remember.
I do like the closeness that we have with our family.
And how fast it is to clean.
Yes.
That's good, too.
Yep. Yep. Bella's our main sweeper, and so she's able to be done if she stays focused.
Right.
In 15 minutes or so, maybe faster. And that's not going to be the case in a big house.
Right, no. Well, maybe we'll get one of those robot vacuumers and let her off the hook. So it's been good. I think the positives have far outweighed any negatives. I've been really pleased with it.
I need more chocolate chips.
You need more chocolate chips, honey. You are falling asleep. See, they didn't work. Okay, before you go, the last question that seems to be the pressing question on everybody's minds is, where will we put the new baby? I hear this question a lot.
In our arms.
So, just to, ease all of your worries, we have a loft. Our loft bedroom upstairs is an L shape. We actually have our king-size bed on the floor there. And we've done this before with two babies. We had James and Lydia up there with us until James was old enough that he was ready to move in the kids' room and bunk up with one of the kids in there. And it has worked really well. So we had a crib and a little baby bed up there with us. And then, once that season passed, which was probably I want to say maybe 9 months or so that we had both of them in there together.
Yeah, it was.
And then he was just ready. He wanted to sleep with one of his brothers, so we've got two little ones together. What is she doing? What are you doing? And they really enjoy that. In fact, we gave them the option once of, James sleeping somewhere else so that Samuel could sleep alone. He said, no, I would be cold. I like having James in with me. So
you know, and it's interesting too with the living in each bunk's the living space for the kids. We used to have it all the time where they would want to switch beds. I think they've done it 1 or 2
yeah,
times.
they don't want to here because
No.
they enjoy their beds
Space.
so much,
Right.
and it's customized to them that they don't want to trade sleeping spots anymore. Everybody likes it. So we will do the same thing when this little baby is born. Lydia will remain upstairs in her bed. She sleeps well in there. And he will have his own little spot too. Right? You gonna get a baby? Alright, so let's let them go. Let's let these good people go. They've listened to us ramble long enough. You can keep asking us your questions. We're going to do these Q&A videos every so often because I just think it's a good way to answer the questions, especially when I get multiple questions about one topic. It's like, okay, you guys clearly want to know this. So,
Bye, good people.
good. Can you say bye-bye? Bye.
Bye.